Preface. The Confederation of Planets contacted me in 1996 and asked me to take down this message for them. They are preparing Earth for the changes ahead and for their own role in these changes. Soon we will accept their presence, and this book is one way they are preparing the way. It may comfort you to know that I have my doubts concerning the existence of extraterrestrials. My experience of extraterrestrials thus far has only been via channeling. I hear them clearly in my head. I don't need to be in a deep trance or meditative state for this communication to take place. It is a simple process of listening to them speak to me and responding to them mentally with questions when they arise. Channeling is not new to me, but communication with the Confederation of Planets is. Although I had heard of them before we met, I had no idea I would be chosen for this work. They told me that I agreed to work with them before I came into this life, but I was unaware of their presence before they contacted me. Apparently there is a time for everything, and the time for this book and this message has arrived. I still find it hard to believe that I've written 2 books on extraterrestrials. I had no interest in this subject before. It was with reluctance that I wrote my first book on this subject, The Extraterrestrial Vision. Despite my doubts, I find my path irresistible and ultimately rewarding. My interactions with beings in other dimensions has enriched my life immensely, and I hope that sharing this message with you will enrich yours as well. Peace to you. Gina Lake, July 1996. Introduction. Who we are. We of the Confederation of Planets, also known by other names such as the Federation, are transmitting this message to you, the people of Earth, through this author. We wish to greet you and tell you of our activities and plans. We wish to explain what we are doing here and how we can be of help to you. We come to you in service and in the light of the Creator. Ours is a mission of service to you, for in serving you, we also serve ourselves. We are deeply grateful for this opportunity to communicate with you and for your willingness to read our message. We know how strange our words may sound to you, and yet, in picking up this book, you are showing an openness to us and our message. We, therefore, write this message for those who are open enough to receive it. To you, it is given. We are not here to convince you that we exist. You have only our words and their meaning by which to judge us. Many of you, though, will be able to feel us through these words, which act as carriers of our vibration. Those of you who resonate with this vibration will not find our message hard to believe. Those who do not will probably not even pick up this book. The Confederation of Planets is made up of a group of extraterrestrials from various planets and dimensions in your quadrant of the universe. We are both self-selected and elected to our positions as overseers of this part of the universe, which includes your beloved planet. We are monitoring Earth out of love and a deep commitment to help her in her evolution and the evolution of all her life forms. We have been with Earth in this capacity for eons, although those holding the various posts in the Federation have changed from time to time. For eons we have watched as you developed your civilizations. We have watched and sometimes involved ourselves in your affairs. Early on, we watched as various others landed and populated your planet. Some of those who watch today were involved in the early experiments that created the human race. Some are even serving you today to pay off debts incurred then. So you see, our motives for being here run deep. We have learned much through our involvement and observations. We have studied the evolution of planets and the evolution of humanoids on other planets in order to understand how best to interact with you and guide you, for that is our task. We too once evolved in third density, the vibration in which you exist. Then, others watched over and guided us. Now it is time for us to repay this help through service to you. Someday you will play your part in the nurturing of planets and civilizations. We come in peace, for primarily that is our hope for you. We live peaceably now among ourselves, We learned this through our many lifetimes of experience, just as you are learning this. We can help you become more peaceable by helping you to understand yourselves and by helping you prosper so that there is no need for conflict and strife. We will come to help usher in a golden age on your planet. This will not be for a while, but the seeds are being planted today for a much brighter tomorrow. Truly, we have seeded the planet with what you need for this golden age. We have seeded the planet with many of a high level of development who will help you solve your problems. These people have been called by many star people, star seeds, light workers, and wanderers. They are highly evolved beings who have chosen to incarnate on Earth now to bring forth new ideas and a new spirit. They are here to spread peace, love, and understanding by teaching and healing. They are also here to ease the suffering on Earth by introducing new inventions and advances in science and medicine, which will make it easier for your hearts to fill with love and gratitude for life and for each other. We work closely with these star people. They are like us, except they chose to take on a human body to serve you. You see, there is much we cannot do because we are not of your dimension, and much we are forbidden to do because of the law of non-interference. But star people can do what we cannot. They are our hands, feet, and mouths, although they have free will and do not always choose to follow our suggestions. They are more able to hear us and intuit our guidance than the ordinary individual, however, and more responsive to us than most. We depend on them greatly. There are many star people among you, and many more incarnating. Their numbers increase daily. But because of the density of Earth, many are unaware of their special powers or talents. They are not operating from the level of consciousness of which they are capable. Many are asleep. We are seeking to wake them up, for we need them to fulfill the tasks they chose to carry out before being born. They are a very important part of the plan to heal and transform Earth. Your planet is in grave trouble, or we would not be watching you and involving ourselves in your affairs so closely. Nevertheless, the difficult juncture at which you have arrived has been anticipated for eons. This juncture is reached by most third-density planets at some point in their evolution. So, although these times are critical, they are not entirely unique. And because other planets have been successfully nurtured through a similar phase in their evolution, we are firm in our belief that Earth will make a successful transition too. How to do this is not just guesswork. We clearly understand what Earth is going through and how to assist her. You are not alone in this, and we are not alone in guiding you, for we too receive guidance from those more advanced than us. We hail you, many of you star people yourselves. We ask that you hear our message and let it resonate in your hearts. Hear us and awaken to who you are. Awaken to your divine nature and to your chosen destiny. Arise and serve with us. Blessings. The Confederation of Planets, July 1996. Chapter 1. Who is here? Right now, thousands of extraterrestrials live in spaceships that circle Earth, and this is likely to continue even after some have settled on Earth. These spaceships are equipped with everything the occupants need to lead full and happy lives. The ships are like small cities, islands hovering in your skies, complete with waterfalls and other natural wonders. Many who live on these ships have never known life in any other environment and have no need or desire to relocate. They go about their daily lives just as you do, performing their tasks and carrying on their personal affairs. Not everyone is engaged in activities related to your world. Some are simply support for those who are. These ships are rarely seen because they exist in another dimension, although they can move in and out of your dimension. Although their higher vibratory rate makes them invisible to you, you are not invisible to them. Those in higher dimensions can see and interact with those in lower ones, but the opposite is not true, except for those rare individuals who are clairvoyant. On the ships, we have technology that helps us monitor the activities on Earth. So when we say we can see you, we don't necessarily mean see in the same sense that your spirit guides and other non-physical beings see you and know your every thought and feeling. Many extraterrestrials do have this clairvoyant capability, but most of the information gathering that occurs on these ships uses technology. There are many types of extraterrestrials and many types of ships in orbit around Earth. Some ships are populated with a variety of extraterrestrials who work together. Others carry only those of the same race. Their missions are many, their appearances are varied, and so are their methods. But they all have one thing in common: an interest in Earth. They are observing, conducting experiments, collecting data, and performing tests and other tasks, many too esoteric to explain. Most are here because your planet is going through a special time, a time of great transition and change, and they are interested in either observing or participating in it for one reason or another. Besides the large craft that are their homes, they have small craft that make it possible to perform their functions. These are the craft most often sighted, for they dip in and out of your dimension as they do their work. Most of their work is carried out at night, when they are least likely to be seen. For various reasons, they do not want to be seen. These small craft leave and enter via ports on the larger mothership, in which they dock when not engaged in their activities. They are very busy, and can be seen in your skies nightly. They spend more time in some areas of your globe than others, but fly over even populated areas regularly. The lives of the extraterrestrials on these ships are as real to them as your life is to you, even though you cannot see them. The fourth dimension, where most ships reside, is a physical reality, just like your third dimension. When you visit it in your sleep, as many of you do, it seems as real to you as the world you know when you are awake. That is why the contacts many of you have had seem so real. Most take place in this higher dimension while you sleep or in an altered state of consciousness. This dimension is very real when you are participating in it. When you have these experiences, most of you are in your astral bodies, which is the aspect of you that exists in the fourth dimension, or fourth density as we will call it. We use the word density in the same way that many use the term dimension. These words developed from two different systems for describing the same concept. Plane is another term that has been used to express this concept. For our purposes, you can consider density, dimension, and plane as interchangeable terms, although our preference in this text will be to use the term density. Many densities, planes, or dimensions coexist simultaneously in space and operate independently. They are generally invisible to each other because each is of a different vibration or frequency. Lower dimensions can become visible to higher dimensions. However, higher dimensions are invisible to lower dimensions, except to some psychics. The third density, which is where you reside, is a material plane. To those existing in fourth density and beyond, the fourth density is also a material plane, although it seems ethereal to those in third density. The densities beyond the fourth are not considered material planes, and are populated by beings with no set form and no material needs. Humanoid evolution progresses through the various densities, starting with third density. You begin your evolution as physical beings in third density, and evolve through the densities into non-physical beings. Some people do have an actual experience of contact in third density, but this is far more rare and is usually reserved for star people and walk-ins. The reason for this is that most people cannot handle such direct contact. It is too shocking. Generally, we do not interfere so blatantly in your lives. However, some people have made soul agreements with us that give us permission for this kind of contact. Usually, it is so that these people can help us with our mission. There are higher density beings on these ships too, beings of 5th and 6th and sometimes even 7th density who are assisting. Usually they are in positions of leadership. The Confederation of Planets, for instance, is made up of a variety of beings from many different dimensions and planets. These beings are organized hierarchically, not only because it is more efficient, but also because it enables us to be more effective. This hierarchy is accepted by us, and we do not have power struggles or conflicts over position and tasks. we perform our work in an orderly, peaceful, and dedicated manner. What is an extraterrestrial? Any being that is not from Earth or living on Earth at this time could be called an extraterrestrial. This includes higher dimensional beings, whom you might call spirit guides, ascended masters, and angels. This does not include spirits or those still on the wheel of reincarnation who await rebirth on your planet, but it might include other third-density beings who are not from Earth. By from Earth, we mean beings who spend a majority of their evolution in third density on Earth rather than on some other planet. This is complicated, however, by the fact that nearly everyone spends some of their physical lifetimes on planets other than the one on which they are primarily evolving. You are used to thinking of extraterrestrials as little green men from outer space, that is, beings with physical bodies like yours. Well, some do have physical bodies, some like yours, and some very different. There are all manner of humanoids and non-humanoids in physical bodies in this vast universe. There are even humanoid extraterrestrials that look just like you because they are related to you genetically. Those interacting with you in physical or quasi-physical bodies are either third or fourth density extraterrestrials who are indeed physical and not capable of changing their appearance as a general rule. But many of those interacting with your planet now are not physical. They are fifth density and beyond. Most of the work these non-physical beings do is of a non-physical nature. They usually don't take on bodies and affect the physical plane that way. Many of the higher dimensional beings working with Earth do not and will not choose to appear physically to people, although they may appear in a vision or a dream if that serves their purpose. However, there are some higher dimensional beings who do on occasion materialize a body that appears physical to you. If they do, it will be an appearance of their choosing, one that fits their purposes. They are not identified with one way of appearing, although some do have a favorite persona or personas. Others don't materialize a body, but appear to people as light beings, large ovals of light with vague features that identify them as a humanoid. Seeing a light being is likely to be a profound experience for most of you, while seeing a third or fourth density extraterrestrial is more likely to be frightening not only because of their realness, but also because some of them are scary to look at from your point of view, and because some are not operating in the light, that is, in service to you. However, there are even some fifth density beings who are not operating in the light. If you encounter one of them, you will know by the confusion they invoke. With light beings, you will feel love, peace, joy, and a sense that something profound is happening to you. 2 varieties of extraterrestrial. Both positive and negative extraterrestrials are involved with your world today. Positive extraterrestrials are here to serve you, while negative extraterrestrials are here to serve themselves and feel no duty to serve others. Negative extraterrestrials feel that serving others is a position of weakness. Eventually, all those on the negative path do become positive, but some stay on the path of service to self for eons before making this switch. They serve the role of villain in those realities that evolve through the duality of good and evil. In that way, they do serve the Creator, although they don't see it as that, of course. They serve the Creator's plan because evolution progresses by running into obstacles and overcoming them. They provide the grist for the mill of evolution. We of the Confederation of Planets are positively oriented, but we do allow those of a negative orientation to interact with you since it is part of your evolution to experience them. We are pledged to help you, but not to interfere with your evolution. Thus, service to you does not mean giving you everything you want, or protecting you from your challenges or from experiencing the consequences of your choices. We are here to influence you positively, but we honor your choice to ignore our nudges and suggestions. Our attitude toward those oriented toward service to self is similar. We encourage however we can, but we do not interfere with their choices, which would be interfering with their right to learn in the manner they choose. We respect their right as well as yours to choose a course of action. However, When these choices have potentially far-reaching consequences to the well-being of the planet and its life forms, we feel a duty to intervene. This is why we are involved more directly with your planet now. Your planet is dangerously close to destruction, both through nuclear mishaps and environmental degradation. The loss of the planet Earth or its ability to sustain life, especially sentient life, would be a loss for the universe and would have particularly far-reaching consequences for this quadrant of the universe, which we oversee. We therefore feel a duty to do what we can to prevent such damage from occurring and to help you correct the damage you have caused to your environment if you are willing. We are here to teach you of peace, and we are here to help you live more in harmony with the blue-green jewel that sustains you. The negative extraterrestrials are here to perpetuate your difficulties. They are drawn here for the same reason the positives are. They see that you are vulnerable and on the verge of cataclysm. The difference between the positives and the negatives is that the negatives hope to benefit from your misfortune and hope you continue on your current course. They try to influence you in many of the same ways as the positives do, through dreams, intuition, feelings, channels, psychics, and star people and walk-ins. Star people and walk-ins. Some people are of extraterrestrial origin, although they are in a human body. There are two ways these higher dimensional beings come to Earth: through the usual way, through incarnating, or by walking into a body. Those who reincarnate are called star people, wanderers, or star seeds. Those who walk into a body as the soul is leaving it are called walk-ins. This soul exchange happens without the body dying. Star people and walk-ins can be of either orientation, positive or negative, although most from 5th density and beyond are positive. Most negative star people and walk-ins are from 4th density. Negative star people and walk-ins from beyond 4th density are rare, but especially capable of causing problems on Earth because of their high intelligence and special gifts. These are the unscrupulous individuals who often gain positions of power and abuse these positions. They are highly manipulative and, by your standards, immoral. They do have a moral code of sorts, which is, if you can get away with it, do it. They are self-serving and will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. There is no limit to the kind of suffering they are willing to cause to get what they want. They are not averse to causing suffering because they believe that victims deserve their lot. Because they will do anything to avoid being victims themselves, they believe others should too. We do not wish to dwell on these individuals. They are not news to you. You've lived with them for some time. It is important, though, to realize that there are such individuals in your world, since most people find their behavior incomprehensible, and therefore, often give them the benefit of the doubt and fall prey to them. There are more negative star people and walk-ins on Earth today than ever before, but there are also more positive ones. The negatives are not only outnumbered by the positives, but also outranked, since the positives are not only from 4th and 5th density, but beyond. Star people and walk-ins are playing crucial roles in the transformation of your world. They are often in key positions because of their talents and intelligence and are usually found on the forefront of change. They have easy access to information from other realms and act as conduits for new ideas, often without knowing it. Many don't know who they are, but that doesn't necessarily stop them from carrying out their mission. Nevertheless, many star people are still asleep and are not applying themselves to their life purpose. Many of the star people will regain full consciousness and knowledge of who they are. When this happens, the effect will be obvious in your world. Not only will they function in their work at very high levels, but they will bring in a degree of compassion and unconditional love that few have ever encountered. Christ is surely coming again, this time in the form of many Christed individuals. And the more Christed individuals who walk the planet, the easier it will be for others to come into their divine consciousness. The current period is perhaps the most difficult because just a few of you have awakened to this level and are looking around and saying, "Hey, where is everyone? I could use some help." Or, "What's happening to me?" Many of you are struggling with your new identities and wondering if you are crazy for seeing things the way you do. We are here to say that you are not crazy. Many of you have always known there was more to life than meets the eye. Many of you have had paranormal experiences, near-death experiences, or traumas which have caused you to question the meaning of life. You have often chosen challenging lifetimes on Earth and may be living a very challenging one now. Most of you who are star people have spent hundreds of lifetimes on Earth learning about being human in preparation for what you are doing today. Coming to Earth to serve during these lifetimes was a big commitment on your part. You are valiant souls indeed to undergo the rigorous training this commitment requires and to re-experience the suffering of third density. We deeply respect this choice and do all we can to make your work and your awakening easier. One of the marks of a star person and walk-in is a sense of loneliness and longing for home, and the memories of a more beautiful and loving place that is your real home. You gave up that place to come here and serve. Sometimes you need reassurance that it was worth it, that you are succeeding, that you will accomplish what you set out to do. So, we work closely with you both when you are asleep and when you are awake. While you are awake, we work with you intuitively as guides. While you are asleep, we provide healing, apply consciousness-raising technologies, take you on visits to other planets and dimensions, teach you, love you, and help you in any other way we can. We are your family, and many of you feel this when you are able to remember our contacts with you. Many star people and walk-ins are channels for us and other extraterrestrials. Channels perform a very important service in being direct mouthpieces. One word of warning though, even good channels don't always communicate with high-level beings or do so consistently. There are many types of beings out there clamoring for a vehicle to speak through. Many have very specific agendas that are not necessarily in Earth's best interest right now, although they may believe they are here in service. It is important for you to understand that not only are there negative extraterrestrials who are trying to scare, confuse, and otherwise throw a monkey wrench into things, but there are well-meaning extraterrestrials who just don't understand humanity and its problems well enough to be helpful. There are also those who, although well-meaning, seek to impose their own perspective on you. Those of you who are star people feel a sense of alienation from life on Earth. You wonder how people can behave as they do, how they can possibly engage in war. Humanity looks quite insane to you. Some of you seek comfort in drugs that numb your feelings and give you a glimpse of the peace of the dimensions you know so well. Some of you end up in mental institutions or suffer in other ways, finding it so difficult to cope with life here. You do your best, but until you awaken, there is a restless gnawing inside you, nudging you to know who you are. Many of you pore over metaphysical tomes, memorize incantations, become adept at yoga postures and meditative techniques, all in search of yourself. Most of you have been searching all your lives. It can take that long to awaken. There is so much to overcome, and it takes courage to look deeply at life, to be different, to ask questions. We honor you and your journey so much. We hold you deeply in our hearts. You are part of us, and we are here to bring you home. But first, you have work to do. Fourth density beings. Those in fourth density, which is the next dimension beyond yours, are physical. Like you, they have physical bodies that require sleep and refreshment. However, their physical needs vary widely, and some don't appear to need food as you know it. Nevertheless, they do depend on the environment for their survival, and therefore appreciate its importance. Some are here in part to teach you the importance of proper stewardship of your environment. They are vulnerable to the same problems of having a physical body that beset you: accidents, sickness, disease, and aging. But their technological and intellectual advancements make it much easier for them to deal with or avoid these things. In addition, those who are also spiritually advanced know how not to create illness. For these reasons, There is little physical suffering in fourth density. Their energy is free to focus on tasks other than survival and physical well-being. Fourth density beings move quite easily in and out of your dimension by stepping down their vibration and dematerializing and then rematerializing their bodies. They appear to you as they appear in fourth density. However, most cannot take on other forms, as can beings beyond fourth density. When they are in your dimension, they appear solid and real. Many who have seen an extraterrestrial in this dimension are unable to remember it because it is so shocking. Most lose consciousness or simply block out the experience, and all that remains is a sense of uneasiness and missing time that cannot be accounted for. Most abductions and other contacts with extraterrestrials occur in fourth density, sometimes when the person is in the astral body, and sometimes through the use of technology that translates the person's third density body into fourth density. It is then translated back again when the contact is over. This is the reverse of how the extraterrestrials contact you in third density. Usually, however, it is easier to contact you while you are in your astral body, so that is the most common method. Examples of fourth density extraterrestrials are those from Zeta Reticuli, including the Greys, the Pleiadians, the Reptilians, some Orions, and some negative Sirians, although there are many other fourth density races involved with you now. Many extraterrestrial races have members in a number of different densities, not just one. The Pleiadians, for instance, have counterparts in fifth density and beyond, but the majority of those contacting you now are fourth density. Those in higher densities are beings who have simply been around longer and now work to guide those in lower densities. Most of those we call higher density Pleiadians, for example, are drawn to those guiding lower density Pleiadians because of strong ties formed with the Pleiades during their earlier evolution. The fourth density is an etheric world to you, but a very real one to fourth density beings. When you travel there in your astral body while dreaming or astral traveling, it seems real to you too, but on your return, any memories seem unreal, like a dream. This is why you often doubt the reality of your experiences there. Fourth density does not seem real from the standpoint of third density. Fourth density beings feel the same way about third density after returning from it. The experience feels dreamlike. The difference is that they understand that other dimensions are real, even if they don't seem real. Fifth density beings. Just as fourth density seems etheric to third density beings, fifth density seems etheric to fourth density beings. They can travel there just as you can travel to a higher density while you sleep. And like fourth density to you, fifth density to them seems dreamlike and difficult to recall. They are refreshed by traveling there, which they do periodically in a state similar to sleep. There they receive guidance, healing, and teachings. It serves the same purpose that fourth density serves for you. Some of you also travel to fifth density when you sleep. It is where you are most likely to meet with spirit guides and others significant to your spiritual growth and development. When these experiences are recalled, they feel heavenly and profound. Fifth density beings no longer have physical bodies. They are beyond the physical lessons, but serve the physical world through teaching and guiding. This is the realm of spirit guides, who are assigned to help people in third density. They do this primarily by working with their unconscious minds while they are asleep and awake, and by sending messages to them intuitively and through their feelings. In these ways, they influence people's thoughts, feelings, and choices. Fifth density beings are wholly devoted to service and have no personal agenda. The exceptions to this are those who are still on the service to self path, but they are in the minority. This doesn't mean, however, that fifth density beings are perfect, even if their motives are pure. They are still learning, and they learn by making mistakes just as you do. If free will did not exist, their job would be infinitely easier. But since people are highly unpredictable, fifth density beings sometimes fail to judge a situation correctly. It is good to keep this in mind if you ever meet a fifth density being, because you will be overcome with love, and it will be easy to assume that that being is perfect. 6th density beings. These are very high-level beings who act primarily as teachers and guides for those in 4th and 5th densities. They generally are not involved with 3rd density individuals, except for some channels and star people. The love they exude is so intense that, as with angels, an encounter with one sends most people into tears of rapture. This is one reason they do not take on physical bodies and interact with 3rd density. When they interact with people, they use only a fraction of their energy. Another reason they don't take on physical bodies is that their energy is better used in other ways. Most are involved in many tasks in many dimensions and locations at once, and leave lower density tasks to others. Who's been here? Extraterrestrial visitors are nothing new. They have been visiting Earth since before humanity existed, and were in fact responsible for its seeding. Many different groups of extraterrestrials have overseen the activities of Earth at different times. Certain groups have always been here and will remain. Primary among those are the Pleiadians, who are very deeply connected to this planet and to the human race. Neither have the Sirians or the Orions ever left your planet. The Greys, on the other hand, are relatively new to your planet. Some extraterrestrials, like the Greys, have learned of you only recently because of the fix you are in, and some just happened to run across you in the course of their travels. Except for the Greys, these newer arrivals are less important than the long-standing groups, many of whom have karmic ties with you. Those who have been involved with you throughout your history, especially with the creation of the human race, are tied to you by bonds of both love and karma. It may not please you to know that many of the extraterrestrials involved with you now are trying to make amends for ancient mistakes. We tell you this because it is crucial to understand that even now, some of these groups are creating more karma for themselves rather than less. These well-meaning groups will confuse you the most. They will seem loving and well-intentioned, and they are. But that doesn't mean they are doing what is best for you. If you allow yourself to be victimized by them again, it will be your lesson. We warn you of this to help you avoid making the same mistake again. We have given them advice to interact with you differently, and some are heeding it and backing off. There are always the few, though, who are so certain of themselves and unaware of their own motivations that they will not take any advice. In some cases, some service-to-self beings have infiltrated their ranks and are influencing them without their knowing it. It may be difficult to see how this can happen to beings this evolved, but evolved service-to-self beings are very clever. From time to time, they trick even 4th and 5th density beings, but usually not for long. You are on an evolutionary journey. So are they. You are learning, and they are learning through their interactions with you. There is no blame in this. It is the way of evolution. Making mistakes and correcting them is how we all evolve. No one is wrong or bad for making mistakes. Mistakes happen, and sooner or later, those same mistakes are no longer made. No one is exempt from this process. We hope you can have as much compassion for the extraterrestrials who have harmed you in the past as you have for yourselves and your own mistakes. We are all growing, and we are all growing toward the light. Chapter 2: What We Are Doing Here. Healing and Teaching. We are here to uplift your race, and most of our work involves healing and teaching. Helping in these ways is not considered interfering in a race's development, but is just a natural part of evolution. It is our joy to do what we can to help you evolve as individuals and as a race. Part of our healing work relates to working on Earth's grid system to help the planet adjust to the changes in its own vibration and to help the human race open up to galactic citizenship. In order to participate effectively as citizens of the galaxy, human consciousness must be raised. This must occur in any event, since the human race is dangerously close to destroying itself and much of the planet along with it. Adjusting the grid system will allow a higher frequency of energy to enter the planet's field and be absorbed by those capable of receiving it. So, we are not only sending a higher vibration of energy to the planet, but making changes within the planet itself to make it possible for more people to receive and integrate this energy. Healing is critical if your bodies are to integrate the higher vibration the Earth is moving into. This is why healing is such an important part of our work here. You are all wounded simply because you live in societies that do not foster healthy development. So even those of you who are very advanced souls find it hard to break free from the conditioning you received while growing up in this world. Being human isn't easy for anyone. Star people often have special talents and perceptions that lie buried by the fear and pain that fill your world. They need ways, like everyone else, to get beyond the fear and to heal the pain so that they can reach their full potential and fulfill their life mission and purpose. Our work requires individuals incarnated on Earth who can hold the higher vibration while others adjust to it. These individuals are usually star people, but anyone who can hold and transmit a certain vibration may be used for this. The individuals are entry points and anchors for the higher vibration. Star people and walk-ins are especially able to express and maintain higher levels of consciousness, although not all are currently doing that. Helping you adjust to and integrate a higher vibration of energy is an important part of helping you create a new world. This is happening naturally and affects all of humanity, which must adjust to this new vibration. Bringing this energy in through people who then transmit it to others just by their presence exposes humanity to this energy relatively easily, because people will take in only as much energy as they can. With increasing exposure, their ability to receive and integrate the new vibration into their own energy bodies increases. This higher energy brings about healing in their emotional bodies as it clears away blocks. This is one way we are working to heal the planet. Another way we bring healing to the planet is by inspiring people, especially star people and walk-ins, to develop new methods of healing. Many of you who are star people were already healers where you came from and have special knowledge that you share. You are pioneers in the healing field on this planet, but your techniques are not new or even new to you. You pioneers are being reminded of this knowledge through your dreams, intuition, visions, and other psychic impressions. Many of you practice your healing arts in other dimensions while you sleep. Our teaching work includes sending information through your unconscious minds to help you advance as a race spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. We send you scientific and mathematical information, new healing methods, ideas for improving educational and political systems, music and poetry that uplifts, and science fiction that opens minds and prepares people for what's ahead. Many people are involved in receiving this information and inspiration from us, and although most are unaware of the source of their ideas, many do act on them. We work especially closely with star people and walk-ins, many of whom are teachers, inventors, artists, musicians, writers, scientists, channels, psychics, and others with special gifts and a special vision for Earth's future. Many of us work directly with channels and psychics to heal and teach. They allow us to work through them to express our particular perspective or deliver energy to the planet. Because being here ourselves would be too much of an interference in your evolution at this time, we count on being able to influence the physical plane through those who are physical and freely choose to act as vehicles for us. They act as focal points for our energy and our ideas, and without them, we would not reach as many people or reach them as effectively. Of course, beings like ourselves have always influenced Earth in this way, but there are many more vehicles for us now than ever before. That is all part of the plan for these times. These channels and psychics, however, are at various levels of development, and some have not fully unfolded their talent. Not all of them operate as effectively as they might. Those who are undeveloped or unclear can hinder us rather than help if they fall prey to negative forces who may use them to confuse, trick, or deceive people. So although channels and psychics are some of our best tools and we rely on them heavily, they are also a potential liability. Because many of the star people and walk-ins have psychic abilities, We use them as instruments to perform certain activities important to our goals for Earth. They are the hands, feet, and mouths of those guiding the planet from higher densities. Needless to say, they are very important to the extraterrestrial mission. However, most have not yet awakened to who they are or regained their original level of consciousness. This puts a greater burden on the ones who are awake, who feel stressed by both the lack of support in the world for their point of view and the slowness of change. We have consciousness-expanding technologies that we employ on the unawakened star people while they sleep. This has some effect, and soon large numbers of them should awaken to the point where they can take advantage of new technologies, such as brain synchronizers, biofeedback machines, and subliminals, along with the many new healing methods, particularly those using color and sound. Many star people are involved in businesses that promote and employ these technologies. Their main thrust is to awaken and heal as many other star people as possible, who can then awaken and heal others and act as entry points for the higher vibration of energy. The consciousness of the human race is being raised now through many of these very practical and tangible means. It is not entirely esoteric. Guiding. Many of us serve as guides for people on Earth, especially for star people and walk-ins. We guide people through their intuition, dreams, feelings, and other unconscious means, and more directly through channels and psychics. Being a good guide is an art, as is being a good therapist. A guide has to know what to say, how much to say, and when to say it. After all, a guide's job is to influence the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, and direction of the person being guided, all without interfering with the person's free will. Guides receive extensive training in how to do this. Their job is especially challenging when it comes to introducing information that is difficult for the person to believe or accept. The guide will have to gradually accustom the person to these ideas. Therefore, the persona that the guide takes on is important and is chosen carefully. Most guides are beyond personality and must draw on their past life experiences to interact with the person they are guiding. Since most people aren't able to see or speak to their guides directly, for many, the guide's persona is not important. But when working with channels and psychics, it is very important. To avoid interfering with the person's free will and the natural unfolding that results from it, one of the primary rules in guiding someone is to avoid introducing information that he or she has not asked for or is not ready for. This can be difficult to determine, so the person is carefully studied. Most guides have studied the person they guide for many lifetimes before taking on this task. There are many ways to a goal, and guides honor this. They work with the person's choices, gently nudging him or her along courses that are more favorable to the soul's plan, mostly through the unconscious mind and dreams. Highly evolved beings do not interfere with your choices, but they do make themselves available for advice. You must open up the topic for discussion, though. They will not raise an issue about which you have no thoughts. They will interact with you more freely on a subject that is already in your mind. And although they might lead you to a new line of inquiry and new subject areas in their talks with you, they will wait for you to pursue that new topic with questions. Sometimes, you unconsciously don't want to know something, and your guides respect that. Something else that is useful to understand about guides and others who work with human beings and the planet is that they do it for their own growth and evolution. Their service to you serves their own evolution. They learn through their interactions with you. They don't have all the answers, nor do they always know the best way to go about accomplishing their goals. They try this and that until it works. In this way, they are much like you. They are learning too, but in different areas. They have already learned what you are learning, but that doesn't mean that they know how to teach you what they know. They learn by trial and error just as you do. Guides are not all-knowing, nor are the extraterrestrials you will meet in person. In fact, many of the extraterrestrials involved with Earth are only fourth density, the dimension into which Earth and humanity are moving. Abductions. The word abduction does not accurately describe the activities of the positive extraterrestrials, although it fits the activities of the negatives. For lack of a better word, we will use it since the event itself, when remembered, often feels like an abduction, whether it is by positive or negative extraterrestrials. Most abductions are not remembered. They do not occur in normal waking consciousness, but in a dreamlike state where memories are not readily accessible. Furthermore, both positive and negative extraterrestrials can prevent memories from being carried into waking consciousness, although these methods are not always totally successful. Memories are suppressed by positive extraterrestrials to avoid shocking the individual. Even though those abducted by the positive extraterrestrials have made soul agreements to help us, they do not remember these agreements and often feel traumatized by such an extraordinary experience. Even the most stalwart of souls has difficulty accepting and integrating this experience when remembered. Aside from the shock of these experiences, abductions by the positives do not inflict pain, nor are they intended to induce fear. The positives go to some lengths to make sure that the abductee is comfortable and that the experience is as painless as possible. They have the technology that makes it possible to eliminate the memory of the pain, if not the pain itself, which is effectively the same as eliminating the pain as long as the memory is not somehow uncovered. Abductions by negative extraterrestrials, on the other hand, occur without a soul agreement, but are at least tolerated by the soul because it can serve the person's growth. This tolerance is quite different from the soul agreement most star people have made with us prior to incarnation. As much as we appreciate what abductees have done to further the understanding of the extraterrestrial situation by uncovering their memories, we do discourage attempts to recover these memories. They were covered for a purpose and are best left alone. We do appreciate, however, that these buried memories influence people's lives negatively through anxiety, nightmares, and other means by which the unconscious mind seeks expression, and we understand your need to relieve yourself of these symptoms. We would have to say, however, that in this case, the cure is worse than the symptoms, and repressed memories are better left alone. There will come a time when it is no longer necessary for our presence to be hidden from you, but for now, there are good reasons for this. Unlike the UFO flybys, the purpose of the abductions is not to prepare people for the truth of our existence, but to provide us with the information, genetics, and biological material we need to fulfill our mission. The negatives abduct those who have a tendency to play the victim, and this is allowed in order to teach the person not to be a victim. This is not blaming the victim, but simply how spiritual laws work in third density. Victims attract negativity, which perpetuates the situation. Everyone incarnating on Earth has experienced or will experience victimization, since it is part of your evolution here. You move beyond it by standing up to your oppressors and refusing to be victimized. Some argue that standing up to the negative extraterrestrials doesn't work because they paralyze their victims, making it impossible to fight back. Nevertheless, it is possible to change one's psychological orientation so as not to attract this experience in the first place, and that is the lesson. This is done by not playing the victim and by maintaining a strong sense of identity. Those who are assertive, know what they want, and refuse to be manipulated by others are not chosen by the negative extraterrestrials. Abductions have been occurring since the 1940s, but are now more frequent. More and more people are spending time in their sleep state assisting extraterrestrials. This is not only because our need for this assistance is now greater, but also because there are more people incarnate now than ever before who have made agreements to help. The number of star people on your planet has increased tremendously since the 1960s. There are more children born today who are star people than ever before. Even those who are very young are helping, for age does not prohibit the astral body, the aspect we work with most often, from interacting with us. It is not necessary for star people to be adult to work with us while they sleep. The presence of more star people on Earth is evidence of our imminent arrival upon your world. Hybridization. The abductees, who are mostly star people, help us in a number of ways, one of which is to donate sperm and ova to produce a hybrid race. This is not an attempt to improve or save the human species, so much as to save the race of extraterrestrials involved in the exchange. This type of crossbreeding is as commonplace throughout the universe as agricultural crossbreeding on Earth. Genetic engineering is simply part of the learning and evolution of a species, sometimes failing miserably, and other times leading to great advances. While not considered unethical by those involved, how they go about it or what they do with the results may be unethical. Sentient beings have a curiosity and drive to explore, learn, and discover, which they express in these experiments. They learn important lessons and advance their knowledge through these experiments. Most of the hybrids will be relocated elsewhere. Only a fraction will remain on Earth. But this small group of hybrids will be responsible for much transformation in your world. This is why the abductees have volunteered to help. They know they are greatly serving the future Earth. The hybrids have an extremely high intelligence quotient by human standards, and their intellectual gifts will advance science and society. Many will be great leaders and on the forefront of change in the 21st century. They are spiritually as well as intellectually developed, which is essential to being positive forces for change. They know all too well what happens when a race's spiritual development lags behind its intellectual development. Very few of the hybrids are adults as of this writing, so it will be several years before you experience their impact in your world. These hybrids are primarily a cross between Earthlings and Zeta Reticulans, or Zetas for short, spindly beings with the large head and eyes you've seen so much of in drawings done by abductees. The negatively oriented extraterrestrials from Zeta Reticuli are often called Greys. While other genetic experiments involve other extraterrestrial races, this particular experiment is critical to the survival of the Zetas, and it is the most wide-reaching, involving hundreds of humans each night across the globe. Although it has taken quite a while to reach this point, it is also one of the most successful hybridization projects. Other abductees help out as needed in the many other tasks necessary to the hybridization project. For instance, the hybrid children need to learn from and be nurtured by humans in order to grow up healthy. Because they are part human, they have the same emotional needs as human children, but the Zetas do not know how to nurture human children, so they must learn this from the Star People and other humans who have agreed to help. Thus, many Star People spend their nights in nurseries and play areas, nurturing and caring for these children. Long ago, the Zetas programmed emotions out of their genetic structure, but now see the value of emotions and study yours as part of recreating them within themselves. Star People and other abductees also have volunteered to allow the Zetas to study their emotions, both behaviorally and chemically. So, through hybridization, the Zetas are attempting to regain the emotions they lost through their own misguided genetic engineering. They hope to learn how to interact with you in ways that are less intimidating, because the Zetas really do not mean to frighten you. They are learning empathy for your fear, as well as how to calm you. For both these reasons, they are studying the chemistry of your emotions. Many of the Star People and other abductees who are helping with reinstating the emotions of the Zetas are reincarnated Zetas themselves. This is one way the Zetas are helping themselves. They are allowed to reincarnate on Earth because they gave you a gift in exchange, the wisdom they have gained from traveling down the wrong path, a path that your race could easily follow. They are here not only to help themselves, but to help you by warning you not to make the same mistakes that they did. They are not concerned that you will do away with your emotions like they did, but they are concerned that you will do away with your planet. They too had nuclear weapons and misused them, and are deeply concerned that you will do the same. They are balancing their karma around this by bringing you this message of peace. The Zetas look strange to you, but they didn't always look that way. Long ago, they were similar to you, since they are from the same galactic family and they were seeded by the same ancestors as you. They mutated and changed their appearance primarily through genetic manipulation to help them adapt to their contaminated planet. The changes they are making in their race as a result of their encounters with you will restore a more human form, with all that goes with that. They look forward to this, but it will take eons before the changes are complete. Their lifespan, however, is at least twice yours, so the change will take fewer generations. Besides, they have no other alternative. Peace. Star people and other abductees are involved in many other experiments and tasks related to the Zeta's transformation. Some of them volunteered simply out of service. There was a need, so certain individuals applied to fill that need. Others volunteered because it would balance some karma they had with the Zetas, or because of a similar situation on another planet that was destroyed by nuclear weapons. By helping the Zetas, who destroyed their planet and most of their race and are now atoning for that, these helpers support the message of peace the Zetas have for your world and others. Therefore, any being interested in promoting peace and ending war might volunteer to help the Zetas. The Zetas' mission is essentially one of peace, and many beings throughout the universe want to serve peace. One aspect of this peace mission involves gathering samples of your flora and fauna to preserve in case your planet is destroyed. The star people involved in this aspect of the Zeta's mission are primarily scientists and come from planets that are very advanced scientifically, particularly in the areas of molecular biology and genetics. With the Zetas and other extraterrestrials, they study the life forms on your world because this yields useful information for those on other worlds who are creating life. In exchange for the privilege of studying your life forms, these extraterrestrials and the star people working with them serve by preserving your life forms for you in the event of a catastrophe. At a certain point in your evolution, you too will become such creator gods. Ecology. Some of the abductees have volunteered for another aspect of our mission, to help the planet environmentally. Here again, many of those volunteers are balancing karma incurred from harming the environment of some other planet. They are learning the importance of taking care of one's home, and they hope to help you learn that lesson, as well as help you save your planet. They work closely with a group of various races to monitor the environment and create strategies for rectifying the environmental damage on your planet once you ask for our help on this matter. Help of this kind will be offered to you soon after our formal introduction. These star people help us collect and analyze data gathered from around the planet, often from the UFOs seen nightly. We are involved in more than just monitoring the environment and analyzing data. We also correct problems, not so much on a physical level as an etheric one, by repairing Earth's life support energy grids and matrices. Much of our work involves energy and the manipulation of Earth's energy field. Just as healers today help people heal by altering the flow of energy in their energy fields, or auras, we help Earth heal by working with the flow of its chi, or energy. As above, so below. But our advanced understanding and technology can only do so much. These grids can be damaged beyond our ability to repair them or repair them in time, which is where the concern lies. Yes, we can help you, but you must also change your ways, or our help will be insufficient. Negative extraterrestrials. The negative extraterrestrials are involved in some of the same tasks as the positives, but for different reasons. One negative race, the Greys, or negatively oriented Zetas, also are trying to save their race through hybridization with your species. The Greys are finding, however, that unlike the positive extraterrestrials, their skills are not advanced enough. On the whole, negative extraterrestrials are not as technologically developed as the positives, because their negative orientation interferes with their evolution. The negatives do not see any use for emotions. Unlike the positives, the negatives do not want to restore their emotions. That is not why they are involved in hybridization. They study yours not to understand you or develop empathy for you, but to control you. They hope to colonize your planet and rule you, and they need to know how to instill fear in you so that you will submit to them. The negatives too are studying your environment because they need to understand it to live here, something they currently cannot do without strain. As it is, their lifespan is reduced considerably by being here. and it will take many hundreds of years for them to adapt enough to be comfortable here for long periods. Their plan is to live between their spaceships and Earth during the time it takes to adapt. This is also the approach that most others who settle on your world will have to adopt. The different negative groups involved with Earth now have various agendas, many of which conflict with each other, which will make it difficult for any one group to gain supremacy. The negatives are at cross purposes not only with the positives, but also with other negative groups as well. Nevertheless, some negative groups do work together on some projects, although they do not cooperate well with each other. The negatives are learning cooperation through the consequences of not cooperating. While to most of you this seems like a simple lesson, negative extraterrestrials and negative human beings have a different outlook on life. In general, the negative extraterrestrials are busy planting seeds of discontent in the unconscious minds of a broad spectrum of people and provoking negative thoughts and feelings that people believe are their own. Mostly, they hope to undermine and inhibit the star people, who they see as their greatest threat among those who are incarnate. It is no wonder many star people feel inundated with negativity at times. The negatives are especially able to influence those who are under stress or struggling with negative emotions. That is why it is so important for you to stay healthy, both physically and emotionally. The negatives influence your actions and choices in the same way the positives do, but it is when they get hold of people in positions of power, such as within the media, that they can cause the most trouble. Because they try to influence those who have the most power in your world, anyone in such a position needs to be on guard and live impeccably. Unfortunately, there are many negatively oriented human beings in positions of power who serve the goals of the negative extraterrestrials. You are influenced by outside forces more than you realize. You may be aware of the power of media to influence you, but are you aware of the forces that influence the media and your own thoughts and feelings? Awareness will help you take control of your thoughts and feelings so that you do not become targets for the negatives. Just being aware that negative influences exist and that any negativity you experience may not belong to you can help you stay in control and fend it off. That is why we are telling you this, not to scare you, but to empower you through knowledge. This knowledge disempowers those negative forces who use ignorance to gain a stronghold in people's minds. Preface. Chapter 2. What we are. Chapter 3. How Star People are helping us. Many of you reading this are Star People, and we want to dedicate a chapter to you so that you can better recognize yourselves. We don't mean to limit this to Star People. Walk-ins and many other advanced souls are also included in the following descriptions, but for simplicity, we will refer to all those helping us as Star People. These descriptions also reveal the direction in which we are encouraging your world to move. So they serve two purposes. They alert you to your mission and describe our mission to you. Star People in Education. Because education is so important to the preservation and transformation of society, many Star People are here to effect change through your educational system. Many of those in this field are innovators, finding new and better ways to teach children and heal the system. Right now, you possess all the new ideas and understanding you need to transform your educational system. The ideas are there, waiting to be implemented on a larger scale. The problem is that the system resists change and will only try out new programs when it becomes desperate. Your educational system is breaking down because it can't keep pace with the times and the many changes that the information age has brought. Information is becoming obsolete before it is even grasped. Much of what is taught in your schools is not relevant to the world of the future. An even more serious concern is the fact that you are not teaching people to think and be resourceful. Moreover, you are not teaching them to love learning. Your attempts to train and program children with information kills their innate curiosity and discourages them from pursuing learning in their own way. They need not only the freedom to learn in their own way, but the freedom to learn about the things that interest them. The innovators, many of whom are star people, respect the innate sensibilities of children. They trust that everyone has unique gifts, and they know that unfolding these gifts requires a unique approach. They trust that people intrinsically know what is right for them and will pursue it if allowed to. And they trust that doing this will bring fulfillment, happiness, and productivity. The innovators believe not only in free thought, but also in the freedom to choose and act according to one's hopes, dreams, feelings, intuition, and drives. They encourage not only free thinking, but freedom. Many of them have lived on other planets or in earlier times on yours, where this freedom was squelched, and they are here now to fight for this freedom through the educational system. They know that a free society must create free thinkers, and that this is done through the educational system. If you doubt this, just look at the educational systems of societies that are not free. Notice how they train their youth to perpetuate their enslavement. Star people in all walks of life are free thinkers. They often hold opinions or viewpoints that differ from the mainstream. That is because most of them are here to change the status quo, not support it. One of the things that needs changing in your world is the belief that people cannot be trusted, that they are basically sinful and bad. This belief is at the base of your oppression. How can you allow people to be free if you don't trust them? Star people understand that growth comes from allowing people to make their own choices and learn from their mistakes. They don't try to shield them from this process by making choices for them, as do many parents, for example. Innovators in education believe that learning should take place in schools the same way. Children should be allowed to choose their course of learning, pursue it in their own way and at their own pace, and adjust their course as needed. Education then is modeled after life itself, and it therefore teaches children how to move through life. In this model, there is no right or wrong way, simply many different choices. Mistakes aren't considered shameful, but part of the process of learning. This teaches children to know themselves and to be responsible for themselves, to know what they want, go after it, and take responsibility for the consequences. Innovators love to learn. They respect knowledge and intellectual competence, but they also realize that the intellect is only one aspect of a human being, and that the educational system should also nurture the emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of yourselves. Their vision is the education of the whole child, education that not only teaches children how to think, but also how to honor themselves and all life. Children must understand their emotions and the role they play in guiding them toward fulfillment. They need to know how to manage their negative emotions so that those emotions don't sabotage their fulfillment or harm others. Emotional education is part of teaching people to function well in society and is as important as intellectual training. Those who are emotionally wounded or at the mercy of their emotions cannot contribute to society as well as they might, no matter how intelligent they may be, and may actually cause harm to society. If the schools do not take responsibility for this, who will? Not the family, which all too often perpetuates emotional abuse and pain. The same can be said for nurturing the spiritual aspect of people. If children cannot see their lives as meaningful and purposeful, why should they strive to benefit society? When you realize that you are connected to something that is greater than yourself, you can work for higher causes in your immediate environment. Without this connection, you are apt to follow the selfish dictates of the ego, which is behind the struggle and suffering of your world. There can be no peace in the pursuit of selfish goals. There is only peace in working for good. Strong societies are built on cooperation, love, and a desire for mutual benefit. The weakest societies are those of service to self worlds, where hatred, competition, and oppression abound. Therefore, if you are to have an educational system that supports society, it must teach children that life is meaningful, and it must teach the values of love, forgiveness, cooperation, and dedication to good. Many high-minded star people are here to teach these things to your children. Many are simple people whose reach does not extend beyond their local schools. Many, however, work in administrative positions in schools that are floundering under the stress of the current times. We wish to encourage these individuals to be brave enough to make a difference, to have the courage to implement their new ideas, and to fight for what they know is needed now. You are the ones who can really make a difference in the future. You have the power to make change. That is what you have come here to do, so let nothing stop you. The positive forces must be as determined to fulfill their mission as the negatives. It is up to you. Star people in politics. Star people will play a significant role in the politics of the future. The United States is on the verge of much political change and will lead the way in political reform worldwide. The political system of the United States will be the most effective system in the world once certain reforms are made. Many of these reforms are being examined now, but they will not be implemented for some time. The wheels of political change turn slowly. The world is not quite ready for the kind of political leaders that will lead it in the new age. These individuals have not even been born yet. In the meantime, certain star people are preparing the way by pointing out flaws in the system and indicating the need for change. That is the first step. After a general acknowledgement that certain reforms are necessary, then others will lead these changes. For now, the roles of star people in politics are primarily those of critics of the system and harbingers of change. They are not people who have actual political power at this time. The needed reforms relate to eliminating all that stands in the way of the system becoming more responsive to the individual. As it is, the system answers more to special interest groups and the moneyed elite than to the people. These reforms include abolishing the Electoral College, lobbyists, and even representatives. With computers in every home, it will be possible in the future for people to educate themselves on the issues and to register their opinions without going through a representative. This will help eliminate the apathy that currently distances people from political involvement. People will have to take direct responsibility for their government rather than leave it to the politicians. That is how it was meant to be. The politics of the future will be a politics of the people. One of the most important changes will be the decentralization of government. More power will be given to communities to make their own laws, which will allow minorities to create the type of environment and lifestyle they choose. People can then choose which community to join. This will allow for more diversity in lifestyle and more peace within your communities. When people feel they have more say in their community and it reflects them more closely, they will work to maintain and improve it. As it stands, many communities have abdicated their responsibility to the police, schools, social workers, and other government agencies. It has never been the responsibility of these institutions to create community. People create community. The false belief that someone else will fix the community besides those living in it is what is behind the deterioration of your neighborhoods. People will begin to see that this is their responsibility. Fortunately, in the future, people will have the time they need to devote themselves to this task. Your social structure is changing, so your politics must change. The gap is widening between the rich and the poor, and the wealthy are the ones in power. If your system functioned as it should, this would not be happening. In a truly democratic system, the people are in power. The rich and poor build a society together that serves both. Most of the poor in your country do not want to be taken care of, they want to be self-sufficient. This is difficult, however, with the disparity in wages. The working poor are providing cheap services so that the wealthy can be served. The low minimum wage is what is behind the disparity between the rich and poor. The greater the difference in wages, the greater the difference in lifestyle. If you want to do something about this disparity, you must change the wage structure. However, those in power do not want to. This change would not mean a loss of wealth, but a more equitable distribution of it. The benefits would include more harmony, less crime, and a transformation of society. Imagine what it would be like if so many were not caught in poverty. Imagine what it would mean for your society to have less fear, hatred, and oppression. Could so simple a change as raising the minimum wage and putting a cap on earnings really bring greater happiness and social progress? This is what we suggest. The United States holds individual freedom above social progress and welfare. The problem has been that your ideas about social welfare are misguided. There are other ways to design your society that honor both the individual and the welfare of the whole. Your rich are beginning to feel the effects of this disparity in wealth with their lack of freedom to move about safely. Something has to give. The situation may worsen before you are willing to implement a change in your wage structure. Star people will play a role in calling for and instigating these changes. Politics must once again become an honorable profession. This means that those entering politics must be honorable. We are not implying that this is not the case now, but the system does not reward honesty and service to the people. It rewards special interests and tempts those in power to compromise their honor. These temptations need to be eliminated and your representatives held accountable. So, not only must honorable people enter the system to change it, but the people must take responsibility for their government once again. You have the power through your representatives to influence and instigate change. If you don't exercise that responsibility, someone else will, such as the special interest groups. Get involved, express your opinion, and work for political reform. Star people in the creative arts. Many star people are drawn to the creative arts because they provide an opportunity to bring through ideas, inspiration, upliftment, and healing. Star people have ready access to altered states of consciousness that allow them to be channels for creative ideas, music, images, poetry, songs, and dance. The result usually presents a fresh perspective, uplifts, enlightens, or heals. Occasionally, their work represents the shadow side of the self or the culture as a way of forcing people to confront and clear it. These creations are distinctly different from those produced by negative star people and others of a negative orientation. The difference lies in how they make you feel. Positive creations may leave you shocked and open to change, but they also leave you hopeful and with a vision. Negative creations leave you feeling fearful and powerless. It is unfortunate that many of the initial movies and books about extraterrestrials instill fear and dread. This is due not only to negative influences, but also to your own predisposition toward life's violent and darker side. Both positive and negative visions of extraterrestrials are being created now, but those produced are mostly of the negative type, with the exception of the movie E.T. This will change as more star people gain positions of power in the movie industry. For now, movie producers will continue to play the public's fascination with violence and the occult rather than the light. It is not considered chic to extol the good, the light. It smacks of religiosity, which is feared and hated by many due to their upbringing in fear-based religions. It is unfortunate that the search for goodness is confused with religion, since it is really a natural human drive. Many artists and writers are receiving images of extraterrestrials. Many are unaware of the source of these images or how real many of them actually are. Many science fiction writers, for example, see themselves as simply having a very active imagination. Some of these images, though, are remembrances of actual encounters with extraterrestrials during sleep, and others are images fed to them through their unconscious minds by extraterrestrial beings. These images are helping to prepare you for the time when extraterrestrials become a reality to you. Having already seen some of their faces will ease your shock at their strangeness. This is not as innocent as it may seem, however. The negative extraterrestrials are trying to scare you with these images, and they use artists, writers, and movie producers to further their own interests. They want you to be afraid of extraterrestrials because that gives them power over you. So although introducing pictures of extraterrestrials can help ease the shock, if all you are receiving are scary pictures and stories about extraterrestrials, your reactions to all of us will be negative. Two forces are at work here. One uses artists and others to pave the way to more positive relations with extraterrestrials, and the other uses them to frighten you and pit you against extraterrestrials. Many artists also receive images of other worlds and dimensions, either as a result of their own interdimensional travels at night or from visions they receive in their waking hours. Those who can receive these images are highly developed souls who use their psychic abilities to help humanity. Since you are becoming intergalactic, and since you are all interdimensional anyway, even though most of you don't know it, these individuals are merely ahead of their time in presenting this information to you. They are harbingers of what everyone will experience in the not-too-distant future. The increase in the depiction of angels and heavenly dimensions is a positive trend that uplifts, provides hope, and helps people transcend their everyday difficulties. Angels strike a deep, archetypal chord in people, and although they have religious overtones, they have been one way for positive forces to reach humanity. Angels are just one type of positive being that interacts with humanity and can be considered extraterrestrial. Many star people act as channels for music from other dimensions. This music not only awakens remembrances of these dimensions and assists other star people in waking up, but provides sorely needed healing. This healing is accomplished primarily by raising the vibration of the listener and clearing blocks in his or her energy field. These blocks can reform, but repeated raising of consciousness this way eventually leads to a more permanent clearing. Repeated experiences of a higher vibration make it easier to find your way back to this level of consciousness and to stay there for longer periods. In this way, music can lead you to higher states of consciousness and help establish these states in your daily life. Not all music uplifts this way, of course. Some music perpetuates the ordinary states of consciousness produced by the lower emotions: jealousy, anger, fear, hatred, and self-pity. Negative star people are sometimes involved in producing music that supports these lower states. The music and lyrics perpetuate fear, exploitation, hatred, and prejudice. Music, like other media, is used by both positive and negative extraterrestrials, through star people and others, to further their respective goals. Dance can serve a similar role as music in raising your vibration and promoting healing. Many find that if they allow themselves to move freely to higher vibrational music, their consciousness becomes heightened, their energy blocks are cleared, and they receive insights and inspiration. Many star people have discovered this and are using dance to enhance their own lives. Many are also teaching dance to others as a way of waking them up. Some people actually channel their dance and other movements. Extraterrestrials and other beings can animate the body of someone who is a medium and use it to express themselves. Here again, the expression may be positive or negative. These are just some of the many ways non-physical beings communicate with people on Earth. Star people in the media. Star people have not infiltrated the media yet because the media reflects consciousness rather than transforms it. That is not to say it will always be this way, but rather that it's not being used to inform and transform as it might. The media caters to your baser instincts. It feeds your lower self while starving your spiritual self. When people of a higher consciousness gain positions of power within the media, this will change. Then the media will become a powerful force for good. Right now, star people are on the periphery of the media, dreaming their dreams of influence, but finding few inroads. Transformation of the media, like most changes, will happen slowly and gradually, with certain individuals paving the way for greater numbers in the future. Those of a higher consciousness are in the minority, and for that reason, must take a back seat to mass consciousness. However, star people have the advantage of being more intelligent, creative, and gifted than the ordinary person, so they are bound to stand out among the crowd and be heard. Most star people are longtime fans of science fiction or anything having to do with outer space, so it is no surprise that this is where they have their greatest impact. They are also the ones interested in the paranormal, UFOs, out-of-body travel, and ghosts. They are interested in these things because most have experienced them. Star people not only try to understand these experiences, but seek others who have had them. Paranormal experiences are commonplace to them, yet their culture denies their reality. They know these things are real, though. They aren't trying to convince others so much as trying to come to grips with a culture that denounces them. America's Puritan ethic views paranormal occurrences with skepticism and downright criticism. The way the media deals with the paranormal is to represent it to the public through the consensus's distorted lens of skepticism and fear. Nevertheless, the mere presence of paranormal subjects in the media paves the way for a more positive depiction of them in the future. Before long, the media will disengage from the scientific viewpoint and begin to reflect what many people believe, that the paranormal exists. As more people have paranormal experiences, the evidence for them will become irrefutable. Paranormal experiences are becoming more common. It's not just that people talk about them more freely. They are more common because there are more advanced souls who are capable of experiencing these things than ever before, and they trigger these experiences in others. Extraterrestrials also are more involved with people and your planet than ever before, and this affects people's openness to the paranormal. The more open to the paranormal that people become, the more experiences they will have. Paranormal experiences are readily available. Everyone has them while they sleep, they just aren't remembered. Even dreams are paranormal experiences. You are multidimensional beings, and the more you open to these truths, the more you will experience them. Star people in science and medicine. Science and medicine are relatively conservative fields, and star people in these fields are there to question established tradition. Some question how things are done, while others look for new solutions. Most often, you will find star people in research, seeking cures and developing technology to further humanity. Star people are humanitarians, but they are also adventurers and pioneers. They are not afraid to challenge the establishment if it is unwilling to back their dreams and goals. Most will play the game only up to a point. They will not compromise their integrity. This is why many don't get the education they need or why they may not achieve their goals. Their independence and unwillingness to compromise often work against them in a world that demands compliance before it bestows power. Star people may carry around a sense of superiority, which can sabotage them. The ego often translates knowledge of who they are, or the sense of being different, into a feeling of being special and not having to follow the rules. Their intelligence and talent usually give them an edge, but unless they are also willing to play by the rules, their gifts may get them only so far. Too often, they discover that they should have been more disciplined and more compliant. In the end, they have only themselves to blame for being unable to influence the world as they would like. This arrogance is a potential pitfall. Medicine and science have little sympathy for those who are unwilling to follow established rules. You prove you are one of them by abiding by their rules and procedures. Those who don't are considered outsiders and their ideas dismissed. Therefore, to make an impact in these fields, it is usually necessary to become a respected insider. This is always a challenge for star people. Fortunately, besides being rebellious and innovative, most star people are also determined to accomplish their goals, and many do succeed. The future will see far more star people in science and medicine. The more open these fields become to new ideas, the more they will be flooded by star people. Meanwhile, a few pioneering star people are breaking ground for others to follow. These groundbreakers are especially resilient souls who have chosen this challenge, knowing the difficulty, but feeling confident that they are up to it. Many have performed this same service on other planets and have become expert groundbreakers through experience. They travel the universe acting as catalysts for change, a role they find most rewarding. They leave what comes next to others who are more skilled at implementing change once it has been initiated. Besides being courageous, these groundbreakers are intelligent. Because these fields require a high level of intelligence, these star people must be smart. Most are considered geniuses by your standards, but this level of intelligence is really quite ordinary for a star person. It does, however, require a special aptitude and training in the sciences. In serving Earth now, some of these star people are balancing karma they created here or elsewhere by misusing their intellect or scientific knowledge. We should mention that there are also negative star people in the sciences who put their intelligence to use without regard for the consequences to humanity. They are responding to a drive to serve themselves and may also be being influenced by negative extraterrestrials who use them to promote their goals. Science has always attracted negatively oriented individuals. One of the characteristics of the advanced service to self is a high intelligence, but without the spiritual and emotional development to balance it. These individuals have caused damage to civilizations throughout the universe. Eventually, they will make amends for this damage once they choose the path of service. Thus, some of the positive star people working in the sciences today were once negative and are now repaying their debt. Star people as healers, psychics, and channels. There are more star people acting as healers, psychics, and channels than in any other profession. This is because the need for healing is so great, and because psychics and channels provide extraterrestrials with direct access to people on Earth. Except for rare direct encounters, psychics and channels are our only means of communication with people on Earth. We use them more often than encounters to communicate with you, because this method is less shocking and reaches more people. Besides, most of the direct encounters are either repressed or not believed. Dreams are the next most common way that extraterrestrials communicate with you. This happens nightly, so whether you are aware of it or not, you are undoubtedly receiving communication of some sort from extraterrestrials. This type and source of communication depends on your interests, your life purpose, your level of consciousness, and your orientation. Star people often receive training in their dream state to help them carry out their life purpose. For example, many healers receive training in healing techniques while they sleep. Some are already master healers, but all healers need help in regaining their innate knowledge and putting it into form in third density. It is one thing to have used these techniques in fourth density, and another to apply them to third density. Some healers receive training directly through channeling or other psychic means. Some even act as mediums for disembodied healers who work through them. Many healers practice their healing arts in other dimensions while they sleep. Many of the advances in healing are coming through channels and psychics. They not only bring through information about healing and new techniques, but provide diagnostic and treatment information, just as Edgar Cayce did decades ago, to the marvel of many. Some star people who are mediums are channeling mudras, special hand positions, and other body positions that assist in energy clearing for themselves and others. Many of the body therapies and means for clearing the body were introduced by star people who have a special affinity to the body and who share with others the knowledge that is given to them through their own bodies. Star people are also involved in toning and other uses of sound in healing. This technology is well developed on many other third and fourth density planets. Those introducing it on Earth use sound technology not only in healing, but also in building construction and even travel. This field will grow enormously in the coming years. Many cultures throughout the universe have discovered the benefits of using color to balance the aura, and therefore promote healing. This too is a field that will flourish in the coming years, as more and more star people unravel the mysteries of the human energy field, or aura. Understanding the aura is an important step in unlocking the secrets of health, and many star people are already involved in this great discovery process. As in other fields, star people who are already in the health fields are questioning traditional practices and inventing new ones. Many are working to increase your understanding of death and the afterlife, and to bring spirituality into your hospitals, especially to the bedsides of dying patients. The crisis of death provides an opportunity for both. An awakened star person is a natural healer. Because they are like the ordinary human's future self, They have abilities that all of humanity will have and take for granted in the future. Healing by touch is one of these abilities, which Jesus Christ and other masters demonstrated. Someday, everyone will have this ability. In the meantime, the ability to heal will awaken in more and more star people. Channeling and other psychic abilities are also natural to star people. However, not all star people are channels or psychics, though most can access information from other realms more easily than the ordinary person. For some, receiving psychic information would interfere with their life purpose. Some need to appear more mainstream and may choose to keep their psychic abilities closed down, except on occasion or when helpful to their work. In these cases, you can be sure they are receiving guidance and information in both the dream state and intuitively to help them with their task. Star people often choose to limit their psychic abilities so as not to appear too different. If they allowed all their abilities to be expressed, they would have a difficult time fitting into society. They might even end up in mental institutions, which some do anyway. Your world is not very accepting of those who can perform miracles, but what you call a miracle today will be commonplace in the future. It is difficult to convince you of that, though. Until science begins to explain these miracles, those with special gifts will continue to be misunderstood and even persecuted. Therefore, star people are wise to keep a low profile. They need to understand that change happens slowly and take steps to ensure that their psychic unfolding does not disrupt their mission. Of course, there is a place for the demonstration of miracles as proof that science doesn't yet have all the answers, and some star people are here to point this out. Chapter 4: Your Changing World. Change is accelerating for a number of reasons, including computers and other technology, as well as the change in vibration. The planet's rise in vibration is causing a similar rise in vibration of people's energy fields, or auras. As the vibration of the aura is raised, blocks in the aura are released. In this way, the planet's heightened vibration catalyzes your growth. It stirs people's issues up in the process of healing them. Blocks are energy structures that are stuck in the human energy field, or aura. They stem from events earlier in this or other lifetimes and hold the energy associated with some type of trauma. For example, a rape victim may fear the dark for the rest of her life, or someone who died of starvation in another lifetime may feel she can never get enough food. Blocks may also reflect negative beliefs held over time, which continue to reinforce themselves. For example, someone who believes that there is never enough will see lack and not abundance, and his or her experience will be in line with that. Prior to release, these blocks may be amplified and cause problems or crises in a person's life. As part of the process of healing these psychic wounds, many things can happen. People may consult psychotherapists and other healers to help them with emotional problems related to these wounds. Or if these emotional problems manifest physically, they may seek help from physicians or other healthcare practitioners. More negatively, some may lash out irrationally, acting out their pain as their emotional wound is revealed. They may precipitate crises in their lives through violent or hurtful acts against themselves or others. Others collapse for a while and let others take care of them in hospitals or institutions. After the wound has been faced and steps have been taken toward healing it, people often rearrange their lives to accommodate their new attitudes and sense of self. Thus, change happens first in the form of a healing crisis and then in some form of rebirth. As more and more people experience such dramatic growth, they activate and facilitate these types of change in others, especially in their loved ones. As more tools become increasingly available for growth and healing, and as turning to these tools becomes increasingly acceptable, more people are taking advantage of them. The pain in the world is great. The pain in individual lives is great. More than ever, people are aware of their pain and want to do something about it. The climate is finally conducive to healing, growth, and change, so change is happening. Those who resist growth and change in these times will suffer more than they need to. Fortunately, there are many excellent models of people who have successfully overcome crises. Christopher Reeve is a good example. Many of those in crisis, such as many AIDS patients, are star people or highly developed souls who chose this challenge not so much for their own growth, but to model positive coping skills for others. Of course, serving in this way also accelerates their own evolution, but those around them also learn and grow. Some people thrive on change, while others resist it. This difference is due partly to beliefs and partly to differences in personality and soul age. Your beliefs will be essential in helping you through these times. Great strides can be made in spiritual development now. By spiritual development, we mean awareness of oneself as a spiritual being, which includes being aware of all as spirit and having a relationship with spirit. That is what is missing in your world today, particularly in Western culture. What a different world this will be when people are more aware of their spiritual selves. Crises have a way of putting people in touch with their spiritual selves like nothing else. Crises are not necessary, of course, to develop spiritually, but many unconsciously create a crisis to catalyze themselves. Older souls are less likely to need a crisis to stimulate this kind of growth, but many star people nevertheless unconsciously choose this route as a way to wake up. The whole world is waking up. It has to. You have reached a point where you cannot continue destroying your planet. Your unconsciousness is ruining your chances for survival, so you must become conscious. This means taking responsibility for your actions, being aware of how they affect the planet and those around you, and making a conscious choice about whether to keep doing that. Until now, it has been easy to be unconscious because Earth's resources have been abundant enough that you could ignore the consequences of your actions. But now you are faced with polluted water and air, lifeless food, diminishing rainforests, the growing hole in the ozone layer. We could go on. You are on the brink of planetary ecological disaster, yet some of you still don't see that change is necessary. The realization of this crisis will make it necessary for you to change your lifestyle and many of your social structures. For example, when you don't have enough clean water, you can't wash your clothes, water your lawns, or fill your swimming pools. That is one level of crisis, certainly an inconvenience to you, but nothing compared to dying of thirst or disease from unhygienic conditions, which is already happening in many places around the world. Disease and death from a lack of clean water are not something Americans have seen or even expect to see in their lifetimes. But when people all over the world are already suffering this crisis, why are you so confident? How much longer do you think it will be before you are affected? There are certain things that your technology cannot create or even fix, and the lack of water is one of them. For you to face this crisis in the future, you will need help. Fortunately, you will receive some help from us in solving your problems, but that is no reason to do nothing about them now. The lack of clean water is only one problem your world will face if you don't make some changes now. There are many others. Our intent is not to frighten you, but to help you open your eyes and see that change is inevitable. The changes will be easier to make if you take action now. At this point, it is not even a question of whether you will face gradual change or less gradual change, but whether you will face rapid change or drastic change. That is your choice. Will you voluntarily initiate change now as fast as you can, or will you be forced to change by crisis? Regaining order and instigating change are much harder once chaos sets in. It is better to institute changes while you still have institutions. Again, we are not trying to frighten you, but some of you aren't afraid enough. You should be afraid of losing your water. You should be afraid of losing your air. You should be afraid of losing your soil. Fear helps you survive, but your technology has lulled you into a false sense of security about the environment. In your arrogance, you think any problem can be solved. Perhaps it can, but can it be solved in time? Famine, pestilence, and disease. More people are dying from famine, pestilence, and disease than ever before. You may say, but there are more people than ever before, so of course this is true. And you would be right. Is it right, however, that this happens in a world that can prevent these deaths? Why is this all right? Why aren't those of you who can do something about it doing something? To us, these questions are obvious. We would not allow such suffering on our worlds because we take to heart the concept of being our brother's keeper. You as yet do not see yourselves as being responsible for all human beings, only those of your family or your community, or possibly your nation. You are not yet thinking globally. That is the big jump you will make soon, because you will have to. Because you do not think globally, people die and valuable human resources are lost. What if Einstein had been born in Africa instead of the West? Is it so inconceivable that a genius, perhaps even a savior, could come from a third world country? It has happened in the past. Is an American, an English, a German, or a Japanese life more valuable than a Somalian life? Are you willing to make that judgment? You make it every day by not taking care of the world's poor and suffering. You choose your swimming pools and BMWs over lives. Their suffering is real. Their deaths are real. This is not a movie that has a happy ending. It is happening in your world, yet you pretend it's not happening. This would be incomprehensible to us if we hadn't done the same thing earlier in our evolution. That this thing is happening on your planet without your doing anything about it reflects the level of your evolution. We are going to help you get over this. We have lots to teach you. We will show you how valuable each part is to the whole and what the world could be like if you shared your planet's resources. We can show you this in movie form, a format that so appeals to you. We can show you pictures of probable future realities, both positive and negative. We will show you what your world will be like, given certain choices, to show you that your future is up to you. You determine it with your choices. Right now, your choices are leading you deeper into destruction, disease, pain, and suffering. You can change this by changing some of your beliefs, beginning with the belief that you don't need to take care of those who suffer in your world. You're right, you don't need to. It is your choice. That choice, however, can lead to your own downfall, because not only does it slow your spiritual growth, but more importantly, it perpetuates a world full of suffering. You perpetuate suffering by not attending to it. The only way your world can be at peace, which is our goal for your world, and it should be yours, is if its resources are shared equitably, and if you begin to live like one world rather than separate nations. A tall order, we know, but this is the kind of change that must and will come about on your world. This is the kind of change we are here to facilitate. The famine, pestilence, and disease in the world today are symptoms of your own spiritual disease. These problems demand action, but this means opening your heart. Doing that would require a leap in your spiritual growth. Well, the planet is ready for that. It needs that. Famine, pestilence, and disease are the manifestation of your own selfishness, hatred, and prejudice, which you must overcome before your world is free of such suffering. It is hard to look at these things, and it will not get any easier until a shift happens within you. Until that shift, you will not be able to face those who suffer. After that shift, you will recognize yourself in them and reach out your hand in compassion. Climate changes. The world's climate is changing. There are a number of reasons for this, but many are man-made. The environmental impact you have on the planet aggravates many natural changes that simply reflect the planet's own evolution to higher consciousness. It is not unusual for a planet's climate to change. What is unusual is for it to change drastically and suddenly. Human beings can withstand a relatively narrow range of temperature. Raising or lowering the average temperature even a few degrees can have an enormous impact on the human population, not to mention other creatures. It is clear that Earth's climate is changing, Yet what that will look like is very difficult to predict, even for us. We are studying your climate as we seek a better understanding of your planet so that we can help you. It is clear that some places will become too hot to inhabit and others will become much colder. Where these places will be is uncertain, but you will see more extremes in climate and weather, more hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and droughts. Where they will occur, again, is not clear, but they will be worldwide. There is no doubt that hurricanes and the like will increase. They are on the increase even now. What their effect will be remains to be seen. The wheels have already been set in motion, and you can only do so much about the weather now. What you can do is be prepared and learn to share your resources with those who are hit by tragedy. You could be next. You will discover the wisdom and blessing in doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Crises can bring not only a nation, but also a world together. Crises open people's hearts. They develop compassion. They bring people together. Geological changes. Earth is experiencing growing pains that result in increased volcanic and earthquake activity. Much has been said already by others about these changes and why they are occurring. Most of all, we want to point out that they serve a purpose not only for the planet, but also in your own growth by having to learn to cope with them. Like the weather, they provide challenges that can help bring your world together. In case you haven't realized it by now, that is on Gaia's agenda now. Humanity is to unite as one world, and Gaia is doing her part in bringing this about. Gaia is going through some necessary physical adjustments to accommodate a shift in consciousness. These adjustments will also shift your consciousness. It is a wise plan, although rarely has a world gone through such a rapid transformation. That is one reason we are here. You need the extra help. We are helping Earth make the necessary adjustments. We have the technology that will reduce the disruption to the human population. We are like midwives to your Earth. We have served many other worlds in this capacity, although every world is different. So we are not here just for you, but for the planet. Pole shift. There will be a pole shift as part of Earth's changes. It will affect the climate throughout your globe, but to what degree remains to be seen. The extent of the pole shift and its effects are uncertain. It appears that the effects will not be as dramatic as once thought. That is the good news. The bad news is that it will affect life on your planet, as whole populations will need to relocate to accommodate the climate changes. When this will occur is also uncertain. Coping with change. We will help you in coping with the changes in accordance with what you ask for and with what is in your highest good to receive. We will not transgress your free will by interfering where we are not welcome. We will not give you everything you ask for, however, because that might not be what is best for your evolution. We will establish a partnership with you, but like all partnerships, there must be an equal exchange. What we will ask of you in return is that you set down your nuclear weapons and all other arms and begin to live in peace. So you see, what we want in return is not what the service to self extraterrestrials want. We ask for nothing in exchange except what is best for you. We are here to serve you and your highest good. That is not true of the negatives, who will demand concessions in exchange for their so-called help. They do not want to help you, so what comes in the guise of help will not be help. What the negatives want from you is your allegiance, your obedience, your power. It will be important for you to pay attention to the motives of those from whom you seek help. Now, some of you may say that to put down your arms places you in jeopardy, makes you vulnerable to us, or to the negative extraterrestrials. The truth is that if we had wanted to conquer you by warfare, we could have done so long ago, and could still do it whether you have nuclear arms or not. The negatives didn't take that approach either, because they knew that they would have us to contend with if they did. Besides, they prefer to conquer through fear rather than with weapons. That doesn't mean, however, that they won't try to scare you into submission by threatening you with their weapons. Cooperation is the way to get through these changes. Not just cooperation with us, but more importantly, with each other. You will learn the power of joining together with others to overcome adversity. Then you will see each other differently. You will see each other not as competitors, but as co-creators, and together you will rebuild your societies. The only other option is anarchy and degradation into service to self. In overcoming your differences and working cooperatively with each other, you will build a new world. So, you are faced with only two options: competition and anarchy, or cooperation and peace.